Okay, so here is my version of Draw My Life. It's a very back and forth, crazy journey. So I'm going to try and explain it to you as clearly and as well as I can, I guess. So Mi vida loca. Yes, the trolla had to come out in that one. So, my life starts off with my dad, my mom, myself, and my brother. You guys have seen him in my vlogs. It's my brother Eddie. He's 3 years younger than I, and we were very close growing up. I grew up in Southern California, which I miss so very much. And I actually would like to go back someday, even though I love Las Vegas. To be specific, I grew up in Southern California, Santa Fe Springs. I was born in the city of Orange, but I don't know, maybe kindergarten to third grade, I was in Santa Fe Springs. It's just so beautiful. My grandparents lived right next to me, and I was very close with my papa and my granny. This is me building or showing you a little map. My school was seriously at the end of my block from my house. In the topper, yeah, there you go. That's me. And then down the street was my grandparents. So I was very close with my Mexican side growing up. My dad and my grandfather owned a sporting goods in Paramount, and I have some very fond memories growing up there, going to work with my dad and all that stuff. That's a bat, not a dildo. And that's a terrible hat. So, growing up, I loved gymnastics. I was on the city team for Santa Fe Springs. I used to tumble and, the uneven bars and compete, and that's my very terrible drawing of a trophy. Yeah, I can't draw. So growing up, I had a very best friend. Her name was Nicole, and we used to hang out together all the time. It's just me knowing what a best friend was. She would spend the night, and just I would always be with her. Our parents, our moms were in the PTA of our school. Her mom was the president, my mom was the vice president. So we were always together, and I love Nicole so much, even till this day. So by the time third grade came along, my parents separated, and it was really sad for me. I was in third grade, and I just remember like all the fighting and stuff, and it just made me really upset. My brother was 3 years younger than me, so what is that, like 6? But I didn't really know too much of what was going on. I just know that one day my dad took me to school. He drove me to school and dropping me off, and I was just crying, and he's like, "I'll see you really soon, Mija. It's okay. You'll come visit me." And I'm like, what do you mean I'll come visit you? And I had learned that he was moving to Las Vegas, and I didn't know how I was gonna deal without my dad, because of course I love my dad very much. I just knew that he was gonna drive out to Las Vegas and stay with my nana, because that's originally where my parents met. They met in Las Vegas, but my dad's from Cali. So I started just getting really close with my brother. I took care of him. My mom ended up working a lot. So when we play outside, I taught my brother how to ride a bike, how to tie his shoe, and do a bunch of big sister stuff. I remember my mom working 2 jobs, sleeping anytime that she could, and just having like babysitters. And my grandparents, these are my grandparents, they look like dorks, but they just have glasses on, and they were my everything. I remember spending the night at their house all the time, being with them as much as I could, and helping out with my parents being like broken up and stuff. It was terrible. So me being in third grade, and it was in the summer, and I remember my mom saying, "Hey kids, you guys are gonna go see your dad and your nana, so pack as much stuff as you can." So I remember these boxes, and I remember leaving for Las Vegas for 2 weeks for vacation, but it ended up being permanent. So I never got to say goodbye to my best friend, Nicole. I never got to say goodbye to my friends. And I was just so sad and just confused and torn. So fourth grade came along and I started a new school in Las Vegas. And it was weird because there was just a bunch of, like, it was white kids. I felt like I grew up in a, like, bilingual classes, I guess you could say. And it was hard for me, but I fit in well. And of course, it says right there, VP. I was vice president of my fifth grade class. So by then, my parents had divorced, even though we had moved to Las Vegas for them to reconcile and all that good stuff. And then middle school came along. It was really hard because there were 6 periods, not just one classroom. And I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. I was by myself, no brother. And, but by 7th grade, I was able to wear mascara and lipstick. So that made me really excited to deal with things. But rewinding a little bit, by the time 6th grade was done, my parents had gotten back together and we were all together again. So they had married, separated, divorced, and now they were married again. So we were all just very happy. And I remember the picture of their wedding day. My mom did my hair in hot rollers and I hated them. And my hair was all froey like that. It was terrible. So we bought this really big house and we were all really happy. And I was able to get a job. I was already 15. I was a hostess at a restaurant. I worked at Old Navy. I was making my own money. My first car was a Miata. I was so excited. And by the time 10th grade came along, my parents divorced again. A lot of stuff went down and I was just like really upset. I was going through my own thing, becoming a teenager, and my mom actually had moved to Palm Springs. So it was back to just being me and my brother again, going through high school. I was sophomore and junior. And so he was like 8th grade. He was getting into trouble, but I was trying my best to, give him lunch money or just take him to parties with me, helping him grow up and trying to be there. I was basically a mini mommy. So, my dad was going through his own thing. He loved my mom. My parents were just all, I don't know. It was terrible. It was a really tough time. It was like the second time it happened in my life. So my dad met my today stepmother, and I was just very upset back then. I was like, who is this woman? It's not my mom. I was just so pissed off, but very happy because now I have a sister who I love so much, and if I wouldn't trade her for the world. So it makes me very excited to have my sister Jessie. So growing up in high school, I had a ton of friends. I was still very positive. I was active. I was a cheerleader. I went to my prom, my homecoming. I worked, so I was able to pay for myself to do all of these things. And that's a terrible tiara. I'm going to draw a better one in a second here, but I was in homecoming court and my dad escorted me on that one. And that was a really happy time. It was, I was 17, 18, and I had a boyfriend, so I was in a good place at that time. So graduation came. I graduated with 3.5 GPA, and I was able to get the Millennium Scholarship, and I went to community college, and I was on my own. I was 18. I was happy. I was really happy, but, 18, 19 comes around, and living in Las Vegas, all the clubs started to pop up into hotels, and I was like, ooh, I want to go dancing. What's nightclubs like? So I ended up getting a fake ID and going out, staying out all hours of the night. I was on my own already, so I had no rules. I was just rebellious and doing my own thing. So I had to leave. I screwed up at school and I had to move to Palm Springs with my mom. So here's me at 19 in 2002, working at P.F. Chang's again, because I did work at P.F. Chang's before. And I had made friends out in Palm Springs. There was nothing to do because it's boring out there. So there's my friend Rudy and myself, and we went to this house party. And this is where I met the girl's dad. His name was Justin. I saw him at a party, and he was so sweet. And he said I was pretty. And I was just like, oh my gosh, he's so cute. So this was me, just in love. We clicked. Everything was perfect between us. We were just young and having fun. And by the time May came around, everything just, we never fought. We just were young, and we went to parties all the time, and we were drinking, and just everything just, I was like on cloud nine floating. And he was a musician, and he was just so smart with, like, musically inclined, I should say. And I thought that he had dreams, and he was like, I'm gonna be a rock star. And I'm like, yeah, I support you. So by June, I didn't get my period, and I found out I was pregnant with twin little girls. I screamed. I was happy. I was sad. I was confused. And, when it came time to, like, okay, let's have, babies, it was time to grow up. And it seems like I was the only one to grow up. And I was working still at P.F. Chang's as a hostess. And he had these odd and end jobs. He didn't want to get a job. He didn't want to work. He wanted to party. And I was alone. We lived in this crappy home in Palm Springs, and it was filled with him, his two brothers, their two girlfriends, and myself. And I was here pregnant, and they always partied in the house, had people over, and I was just like alone, miserable, because they were all partying, playing loud music, and he would sneak out and just leave me alone. It was terrible. I got really depressed. So my dad, I remember a couple times, had come out to Cali and picked me up. So I was a lot of back and forth to California and Vegas. So there's me, big and fat, hungry, eating all the time, sleeping all the time. And we were so broke because the girl's dad didn't want to work, and we had no money. So I remember eating a ton of spaghetti because it was cheap, and 20-piece chicken McNuggets from McDonald's, because those were cheap too. But I drank a lot of Ensure, and I ate as well as I could, but those were the things I was totally craving. So by December 2003, it was also his birthday, December 9th to be exact, and I remember having contractions. I was huge. I drove myself to the hospital that day because I thought I was going to have the babies, and sure enough, he was drunk showing up. I just remember that was just so terrible. By December 18th, 2003, I gave birth to my babies, Alexis and Desiree. I tried to give birth on the 17th, but they didn't want to come out, so I had a C-section on December 18th. And I was just so happy. The girl's dad was there. It was just, I don't remember much just because I was so out of it. But the first year of nursing was terrible, and I just could only do it for like 6 months because I had to go back to work. And I knew that I didn't want to be with the girl's dad. I tried to make it work, and I was just miserable. I was to and from Las Vegas, back and forth, not knowing what to do. Between 2005 and 2007, I started working at Mac then, in Palm Springs, and I worked at a nightclub called South Beach. And there I worked the weekends, I worked the day at Mac. At night I would work South Beach, and I was a mess. I didn't know what to do. I was working, and the girl's dad was like trying to help me take care of the girls, but didn't. And it just, I don't even know what even went on then. I remember being too broke to pay for a sitter, so there's Justin's mom, and she was just this crazy lady. She's still crazy, But she would try to stick up for the girl's dad all the time. It would just make me crazy, and eventually I had to stop letting them see the girls. Like, they were just too nuts. So 2008 came along. I moved back to Las Vegas with my mom, and that's where I saw YouTube, and I was like, oh my gosh, makeup tutorials, I can do this. So I remember grabbing my mom's camera, and while she was at work, I used to get on YouTube and record videos. And then I just got all of this great feedback from you guys, and that's the same time that I got a really good job, and I was just making money again and being independent. The girls were like 4, 5 years old, and just communicating with you guys. I got partner at YouTube, and it was just very positive for me. So I started doing really well at the videos, and then I met somebody, and his name, we don't even care. But I stopped doing YouTube videos, and that's where I went. I found a boy, and I just was like, oh my gosh. But luckily, he was a jerk, and we broke up. It was a very toxic, abusive relationship, and I'm so glad I got out of that. And I was back to me, and I was like, I'm going to be single, and I'm just going to get back on my grind, YouTube. I just found with all these other people like you guys, and from everywhere, I was like, I am going to do YouTube again. And I met somebody else. Oh, my love life is just there and there. But the girls always did good. They got great grades, and I just did so well with them. But the only thing that sucked was Desiree's asthma, and that's the only thing that's really wrong with our lives, I guess I could say. But now I live with my mom. My mom and I rented a home together, and we have the girls, and Nana's here right now and from the Philippines, so we're all really happy, and it's nice to have the girls grow up with family. I just knew at a very young age I wanted to have my own family from what I went through. So I've been happy, I've been sad, I've been depressed. After I gave birth, there was a time where I was like Nicole Richie skinny, like 110 pounds and depressed, and I didn't know what to do with myself, or I didn't know where I was going to be, but I just knew that all I needed was the girls. They saved my life for sure. The girl's dad try to call every so often, and I try to keep the girls in contact with him, but he's just so irresponsible. And I just try to tell him, like, hey, you know what, go be your rock star self and make it, because he swears he's gonna make it still. So I just want him to be, and just to really leave us alone. I mean, look, he dresses in chains, and just it's hair down to his shoulders. It's just terrible, and not really good for the girls to see their dad be that type of person. So there's me, strong. I've been through so much. That's why I really have a very carefree attitude. I don't really give a shit what anybody thinks about me. I just know that I love myself, and I've made it through a lot of crap. So majority of this is all out for you guys, and my other single moms out there. You can do it. And the journey's hard, but you will definitely make it through. Thank you guys so much for watching.